Welcome back to BarrieEntrepreneur.com. Today I have special guest Peter Strain from the Water Depot. Thank you very much, Peter, for joining me today.
Okay, you're welcome.
Great. Well, if you want to just give everybody an idea of where you started in the business and how long you've been running it and your background, that type of thing.
Well, I was in the manufacturing services business in 1989. I loaned some money to a chap. He didn't pay me back, and at the same time I lost my job. So I thought, well, what can I do? I might as well dive into the business. And in this case, it was the water business. And I started with Water Depot. And then it's on 185 Bayfield Street. That's just an old duplex. And we're upstairs in a duplex. That's where we started the business. And anytime the phone rang, we got excited. And usually it was a relative of a friend. But we started the business, and then we bought another little business called Water Doctor, and the other little business, and the rest was we evolved in the business. And then I guess about 1996, I looked at this and said, somebody's going to come into this water business and do it right. And when that happens, I won't be here. And I was very frightened of that in 96. And then after a while I said, well, why couldn't I have a system of stores and retail and lower price and good quality and long hours? So we did. We opened one, then two, then three stores in Barrie. A chap came to see me and said, would you make us a franchise? And we looked at it and said, sure. And so contrary to when everyone has these wild stories of success, I kind of backed into it, and then after that, I guess I'd have to say to you, I was opportunistic.
Right.
Yeah.
So what has been some of your greatest successes as far as the growing the franchise and things like that? Is there some highlights that stand out?
Yeah, I think in business everybody points to one thing, but it's a multitude. And I would say we started a training university and college.
Very nice.
And we started to train people, and from that we not only educated ourselves through the training, because there's a lot of ignorance in our, like, if you want a newspaper, you can get someone from a college that's ready to go, journalism. And water, it doesn't exist. Maybe for what they call gray water, but for our industry it didn't exist. So we started training people. I think that is one thing we do. Our goals basically are to be better or different than our competitor. We looked at the pricing and things, but I'd say about 1997 we went to television.
Okay.
And television has been a good thing for us. It's a medium we believe in. We've used it exclusively. I think reach numbers are for losers, but we tried to pick programs where we could be on often, and now we're on CHCH Hamilton. We're on CTV out of Kitchener. We're on the E Channel in Barrie, and we're a CBC affiliate with Peterborough. And I would say that's one of the highlights and one of the reasons we were able to grow as fast as we have.
Wow. Are you out of the province now, or is it still?
Yeah, I've looked at that.
Yeah.
I've looked at that, and I found a lot of people who have failed just didn't grow fast, but they tried to go to different countries or provinces.
Right.
So we bit the bullet and said, hey, we're staying here.
Sure.
We have roughly 20-25 stores now. Like to be at 30 by the end of the year, and in 5 years 100 stores in Ontario. Once we reach the 100, we're willing to go all over North America, and that's our long range goal.
Right. Okay. What are some of the greatest benefits about operating a business in the Barrie area?
Well, we have hard water.
Yeah.
And so it works well. There's lots of competition. But Barrie, as you know, is the fastest growing city in Canada, or #2 for years and years. And I think now still housing cost per earnings is still one of the tops maybe in all of Canada. So yeah, Barrie's a good place. I like living here too.
Okay. Do you find that the economic development department, as well as local MPPs, do you find that they're assisting with growing small business to medium businesses and large business like yours as well?
Yeah, I think they do. I'm not a person that's big in government or asks for government assistance, but I will tell you this, that when I started in 1989, if you asked me that I was going to pay $2, $3 for a bottle of water, I would say no. And I had no idea about what water would be. But where I'm going with this is that now the municipalities, the politicians who thought nothing of water and it had no importance, as you know from reading the newspapers, there's now money for it. In fact, we're looking at now Water Depot Environmental, which is basically a division of our company that's going to be emphasis on conserving water and not using so much water and using your wastewater in such a way to cut down on the use. And I found with that, the government is very, very interested in helping.
Right.
It's kind of a long-winded around, but I find government now is certainly willing to help. And for small business, probably, but we're growing rapidly as it is, and most of us have franchises, so the only government assistance we get maybe is with the small business, development loan type of thing that's available through the banks.
Right. But as far as the, I guess, recycling of water, if you will, that fits into their green shift plan a little bit more.
Yeah,
Than
yeah, and we need to all be in that. I mean, that's something from hydro to water, whatever it is, why do we waste? We waste because economically it didn't make any other sense. But as we start paying more for water and more for hydro, then all of a sudden we look at it and say, well, it really pays for us to cut down.
Sure.
Besides, the quote-unquote tree-hugging type of thing, we give people names, but that allows us all to realize these are resources that we need to guard, and the government is serious about that. One chap was telling me, instead of producing more hydro and all this type of thing, it's less expensive, I think about a third, to get you to cut down and give you incentives to cut down your hydro use as it is to put new systems in place to produce that hydro.
Wow.
And I think it makes sense, doesn't it, that we, with water and everything, that we start to conserve now.
Mm-hmm. Before all our aquifers are dried up and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Well, just to give people an idea of what you like to do in your spare time, what are some of your favorite hobbies?
Well, I like to play slow pitch, hockey, ball hockey, but I also really like fishing. And we're going to be on a couple fishing shows. The Fishful Thinking Show, we're going to be a sponsor, 384 airings of that.
Wow.
Plus, I'm going to be going to Lake St. Clair muskie fishing on a program. So that's a highlight for me. So yeah, I like all those things, and I like fishing.
Yeah. What's your biggest catch? It looks like
about a 20-pound pike and about a 22, 25-pound catfish.
Nice.
Yeah.
Out of local lakes here?
One was in Selkirk on the Red River in Selkirk, Manitoba,
Okay.
and the other one was up on Algonquin Park.
Right.
And we have, believe it or not, a Water Depot fishing tournament. Of course, I caught the biggest fish, but I couldn't take any trophies. But another person caught a large fish. Yeah, it's nice to get out.
Sure.
Yeah, it's nice to get out. I like fishing. It takes my mind off of things. Good recreation.
Yeah, clears your mind. It does that memory dump, so you can start fresh on the next week when you get back.
Yeah, I have learned in life that I used to be a chap that would never take holidays. I look back and say that was foolish, because when we charge our batteries, when we have time off, it's almost like I'm looking from a distance at my business. And sometimes the hardest thing to see is yourself and your own business. And when you take more time off, I think in the long run you're more productive and you actually gain more.
Right.
So I try to take time off.
Okay. One other question that just came to mind, actually, speaking about having the business at a tangible level. What do you do to overcome some challenges that you've come across? Like, do you have some mentors that you source to, or how do you get through that breakthrough point?
It took me a lot of years just to make a profit, and I went to the university called the University of Life, and there I had two professors. The one guy's name was Trial, and the other chap's name was Air, and I had to pay them very well every time I went through the trial and the Air. So I would say, I like a lot of people, I read all I could read on business. I like business. I won't read a novel. I just enjoy business, and some call self-help books, but those things really help me, and I'm interested in them. So I would say, rather than have just one mentor, reading a lot of books on business and studying business in general has really helped me go from 1-2 person to where I guess we have well over 100 people on all the franchises. I think one can educate themselves. If you're lucky enough to have a mentor, someone beside you, wonderful. I didn't. I had a lot of lonely, soul-searching days, like perhaps any person that's going to view this tape will attest to. And you know, some of you may be listening to it and say, "Well, I'd like not to go through these troubles." Yeah, I would have liked to avoid them too.
Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is, you become strong through adversity.
Right.
That's just a fact. And as you read a lot of books about successful business people, and you read their stories, you know, they're at chapter 3 or 4. But you got to remember, in that life, they didn't know they'd be a success. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They thought, I'm done in. But
yeah, it seems very dark and gloomy at times.
Yeah.
And how do you go through it? But
and a little inner fortitude and glue. Sometimes I think people are successful in business just because they keep on keeping on instead of jumping from let's try this. In fact, I would say if you're having trouble in business, for a while we jumped from one thing to the other thing. Let's try this. I think it's a mistake.
yeah.
Get your plan, you know, and work your plan. Plan, you know, is it plan your work and work your plan?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Peter. I really
You're welcome.
appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for checking out BarrieEntrepreneur.com. Come back again soon.